What's up, everybody? Welcome or welcome back to Tony Reads. Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to put my entire TBR into the hands of AI. I'm going to let AI pick what I'm going to read next. I decided to narrow it down. I don't want to just say, ask ChatGPT, hey, give me some good books to read or anything like that. And for those of you who are familiar with my channel, you know that I only read thrillers. So I wanted to narrow it down to a certain type of thriller that I really love, and that is domestic thrillers. So I'm gonna just go on over to ChatGPT, put in a little prompt, and see what comes out. And I'm gonna try to be true to it and really stick to whatever it recommends. Now there's a very good chance that it might recommend some books that I already read. So of course I'm not gonna read those again or whatever, but I'm hoping that it gives me some new fresh ideas because I'm trying to step outside of the box. I just stick really with the same people all the time, and so I'm trying to move away from that because I know there's other wonderful books out there. So let's get this party started. Okay, so I hope you guys can see that. I'm really now I see exactly how dirty my computer screen is, but anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. So let's see. I am going to say, please, I don't know why I say please when I'm doing this, help me select 5 domestic thriller books to read. They need to be less than 400 pages, and they should be similar to Frida McFadden books, but not any Frida McFadden, because I have already read most of them. I don't know why I talk out loud when I'm typing on AI. Please help me select 5 domestic thriller books to read. They need to be less than 400 pages, and they should be similar to Frida McFadden books, but not any Frida McFadden, because I've already read most of them. I'll put already. Oops. Already. What else do I want to say? They need to be very interesting with great plot twist, and they should be page turners. Hope it understands that part. So I'm going ahead and hit enter. Dang, was it that hard? It's very rare when I type in something that says it's thinking longer for a great answer. But we'll see what comes up. There was something I forgot to say. I wanted it to also tell me why, it selected these thrillers, what's so great about them. But we'll see. Okay. All right. This is very interesting. Okay, so I don't know how that footage of me typing into ChatGPT is going to turn out. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what I typed in. I said, please help me select 5 domestic thriller books to read. They need to be less than 400 pages, and they should be similar to Frida McFadden books, but not any Frida McFadden, because I've already read most of them already. They need to be very interesting with great plot twists, and they should be page turners. So that's pretty much, that's a pretty legit prompt to type in to get some good books. I'm actually shocked at the books that it selected for me, and a couple of them I'm actually very familiar with. So let's get this started. Okay, so based off of the 5 books that AI provided to me, I also sent another prompt and said to tell me why you selected these books. I was just really curious because it's a strange set of books in my personal opinion. So the first one is called Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. And this one is hilarious that it even selected this. And the reason why is because I have a video that just came out the other day, probably by the time you see this video. And it was the like top 5 book talk thrillers or something like that. And this book was actually in that list. So I've already talked about it. And what it is the little summary is like it's a wealthy couple, whatever. And from the outside looking in, they seem like they got it all together. Everything's perfect and stuff or whatever. But the wife, like, she never can go out and meet with other people for lunch or something like that. And there's on one of the bedroom windows or something, there's bars on it or something like that. So basically it's one of those kind of thrillers where they have these dark secrets within the family or whatever. And the husband appears to be crazy or whatever and is keeping the wife like hostage or something like that. So AI told me that they picked this one because it seems like a very simple plot at first, like Frida McFadden books do, but it's going to be unputdownable, as they say, and it's really going to be a page turner because the plot of the movie obviously is not going to be what it seems, because that's too simplistic. And I mentioned that in my other video. Just a man, some psycho husband keeping his wife prisoner, whatever. That's way too easy. That's like, that's lame, like a Lifetime movie or whatever. So I know there has to be something more to that. So I thought that was a pretty good choice considering that Book Talk talks about that book as well. But it was just kind of funny to me because I just talked about that in my last video. Okay, the next one is also funny to me because it's actually a book that I've already read. It's probably like one of the first 5 books I ever read in my life. I think I bought this during one of my first book hauls before I went completely Kindle and was actually going into Barnes & Noble and stuff. And it is called The Couple Next Door, and it's by Sherry Lapina. And so basically the setting, I already know this one because I read the book. I actually liked it, and it definitely is a domestic thriller. So there's there's 2 couples that live next door to each other, and it's like, I don't want to say brownstone, I don't know where it's at, but the houses are kind of like stuck together or whatever. But so the couple goes over to the other couple's house kind of like late at night for drinks or whatever. They have a little party or whatever. And when they come back home, they left their baby at home thinking, because it's like close together, they're thinking it's okay to let the baby just sleep at night. I think if I'm not mistaken, like the babysitter didn't show up or couldn't make it that night or something like that. When they come back home, the baby's gone. And so there's all these investigations, all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like a crime-ish kind of thriller, but yet it's domestic. And, they start unraveling lies and secrets and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to give it away. It actually is a good book, and I do highly recommend it. And I can totally understand why AI recommended that book. But Sherry Lapina she's known to some people, she's like the queen of domestic thrillers. And others will beg to differ on that. Everybody can have their own opinion or whatever, but she is a very well-known author and known for domestic thrillers. And so I can see why AI picked that one for me, but it was just hilarious because I already read that book. I wanted to put in the prompt all the books that I've read already, but it's too many to put in there or whatever. I can't remember all the domestic ones I read. So that one came up, but I think that's a good choice, and I would recommend that to others to read. Okay, the next book is another one that I already read, but I can see why AI selected it for me. However, this didn't turn out to be one of my favorite books, and that is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney is a very well-known author. Actually, this book was highly recommended to me, and it wasn't just like outright dumb, or I won't even say it was boring or whatever. It just wasn't as good as I thought it would be with all the hype that it had. So basically this one is about a couple and their marriage is crumbling apart or whatever. And so they go spend the weekend. They take a weekend getaway at some remote location or something like that. And all this crazy and creepy stuff starts happening or whatever, and they think, perhaps maybe somebody else is there, besides them. And it just kind of drags over and over and secrets are revealed and all this kind of stuff. And the ending just wasn't that great to me. And maybe if I remember correctly, it's borderline kind of corny. It's been a while since I read this book, but I just know that it never comes up when I'm talking about my all-time favorites or even kind of favorites or whatever. But so many people love this book, and a lot of people love Alice Feeney's work. So I can totally see why AI recommended that to me, but sorry AI, I already read that one and I didn't think it was that great. Okay, the next book is called The Arrangement, and it's by Kirsten Modglin, Modglin. I don't remember if I've ever read a book by this author, but I definitely heard of her, and I believe I've talked about her or some of her books in some of my other videos. So in this book, a couple decides to have like they agree to an open marriage, but yet there's strict rules, and something about when one of them doesn't follow the rules or whatever, something becomes deadly. And so so it's only 226 pages, and I asked AI why did they select this one for me. It actually doesn't sound all that great to me. Later on after this video, I'm probably going to read what the summary in Amazon actually says about this book, because this is just like a little snippet of it, of what it's about, and try to digest of why anybody would think this book is great. The plot doesn't even seem interesting to me. It seems like a Lifetime movie, again, you know, kind of just like lame. But there has to be something more to it, you know, for anybody to think this is like a good book. But the storyline just doesn't sound good at all. Actually, if I was just on Amazon surfing around and I came across that, I wouldn't buy that book. I don't care if it was, you know, free on Kindle Unlimited or whatever. It just does not sound interesting to me. Kirsten Modulin is supposed to be like one of the queen of domestic suspense or something like that. And I know she has other books that are supposed to be really, really good. There is one real good thing about this book. It's only like 226 pages. That's like real short. I could probably read that in like one sitting, but it just doesn't sound good, unfortunately. But I might take a little peep at it at a real summary and see what it's all about. Okay, and last but not least, the fifth book that AI selected for me is called The Perfect Marriage, and it's by Geneva Rose. And when I saw that AI selected this for me, I literally laughed out loud. This book has history with me. I did read it, but the funny thing about it is I did not even finish it. This was the first book that I ever DNF'd, the first book that was so bad to me that I couldn't even finish it. So the story goes, there's a couple, and the wife is like a defense attorney or whatever, you know, very successful and everything, and the husband's like a wannabe writer or something like that. He's not even bringing any of the money or whatever. And he goes out to, quote unquote, to their remote cabin or whatever to write. And that's like basically where him and his mistress usually hook up. And so the mistress ends up being murdered, and of course he's being accused of it. His wife agrees to take him on as a client. And so then, which I think is crazy, you're gonna defend him for murdering the mistress. But anyway, that's none of my business. And so as she's, you know, digging deeper into the situation, everything as the attorney, she's finding out more secrets. Of course, there's always secrets in a domestic thriller, and all this stuff is being unraveled and whatnot. And I couldn't even get to the plot twist or whatever because it was just like taking so long to get there. It was like ridiculous. And it was just like the whole storyline, like there's just some crazy cop or something that's supposed to be abusive and just all this kind of stuff or whatever. And it's just, it was just taking too long to get there. It's definitely not a page turner. It's boring to me anyway. It has been, a lot of people love this book though, but to me, it just could not keep my attention. I won't say it was poorly written or anything like that. And Geneva Rose is a very well-known author, but this book just wasn't for me. I was like bored to tears. I had to just put it down. So yeah, The Perfect Marriage. So AI says it was sharp, addictive, and packed with tension or something crazy like that or whatever, which they say about all, you know, thrillers or whatever. But I didn't feel any of that when I was reading. So, you know, whatever. The good thing about it, what AI did get right, obviously, is all the books were under 400 pages. They were like way under 400 pages, but I felt that with these selections, being that I have read most of them, they're like nothing like Freida McFadden thrillers to me. Not even The Couple Next Door, which I actually like, by Sherry Lapina. I don't feel she's anything like Freida McFadden, actually. Totally different. Freida McFadden is known as like kind of a popcorn thriller writer, you know. I think I kind of know what that means, whatever. And these books are not that. So I don't know how AI came up with the comparison, because there's other people like Noelle Ely, whose, to me, writing style is more like Freida McFadden's. But anyway, this was fun, and I'm definitely not saying I'm not going to use AI again, because this was kind of like interesting, but I think I'm going to change my prompts around so that I don't end up getting the majority of the books that I've already read. I might increase it to like 10 books or something like that, so there's a better selection. But anyway, this was very interesting that AI picked these books, and they did pick some that I actually read and that I actually liked, so that was kind of cool. But anyway, if you like this video, thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and notification so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And again, if you have some domestic thriller recommendations, drop them in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.